Hello there, dear dreamers, and welcome back to Emmy Soleil Dreamwork and to this update for March 2020. We have come to the fifth winter month according to the Norse calendar, and this month is named Goi, which is the daughter of Tori, who I spoke about in the last month's newsletter. And the Goi means a thin layer of snow, just the way the landscapes used to be during March in Sweden. This month was by the Norse people, for some reason hidden in the story belonging to the story of Goi, considered as the month of women. This is quite fitting nowadays, since the 8th of March is the International Women's Day. Not that I think either the women's rights fighter Clara Zetkin, or for that sake the UN, was considering the Norse calendar when establishing the 8th of March as the date for this tradition. But it's for sure the lighting sync. So further on in Sweden in 1968, more exactly May 8, a feminist organization bestowing of 8 women formed a group called Group 8. The reason I'm putting the light on number 8 instead of number 7, which is the numerical value of March this year, is that the energies found in a numerical value of 8 are strongly at work right now, affecting the feminine movement. Let's begin with some 8 information. The 8th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Shet, which is symbolized by a bridge uniting men and women with God. Furthermore, Shet means life, or rather being alive, which is leading back to something I am quite sure of, that the ones taking the decisions, making this feminine day of liberation to be irradiated by the energy of 8 wasn't at all aware of. So let's go back a little bit to the biblical story of creation, when the first woman came into being from Adam's rib, and of course with a little mojo something from the Old Testament, God's magic books. Looking into the Sumerian myth gives us more or less the same story of creation, but with the difference that God was more than one, and the story more detailed. The old Sumerian cuneiform clay tablets says that the formula used for creating life is spelled She-im-ti, which is translated wind, breath, and life, as in wind of life is breathed in. Moreover, there was also a house added to the story, namely the house in which the wind of life was breathed in. A house in the Sumerian language is spelled E, then followed by the form, characteristics, or purpose for the specific building. For example, the word E-Kur means a house looking like a mountain, which describes a pyramid. And I tell you this because one of the really interesting things about this old language is that the words have at least double meanings, which invites to a deeper understanding of what is seen at first sight. Just like in dream interpretation, the understanding is to be found on more than the most obvious levels, and when getting that, it's easier to see the whole picture of what is going on, what has the original story what the original story has to say to us, and what is the greater lessons to learn. This is in the extension about learning how to bridge opposites, learning to co-work and to think twice, see more than one thing at the same time. We all need to be able to bridge our 2 brain hemispheres to be able to really get a grip on the true reality. We also need to bridge our passive and active aspects in the understanding of ourselves. Not least the return of the true original feminine part of the divine has everything to do with being able to unite with the masculine side of things. The rib from which Eve was created is symbolically to be seen as the link between the first couple, the breathing thing between them, the link between woman and man. Life as in staying alive and to live is such an obvious understanding of the beautiful word ti, the rib, since feminine and masculine could never survive without each other. The number of 8 is at work when it comes to the return of the feminine, and this is not least seen in the work of feminine liberation. Look at the 8 and imagine it moving clockwise into that well-known symbol of eternity. And then let it move the full lap into a regular 8, and then imagine the upper half of the 8 flipping like if it was a page being turned into a circle. A circle that once was turned into two opposites, reflecting each other while being separated in the middle. And the middle that is to be seen as the link binding the two opposites together is T. And this is an example of the greatness and knowledge hidden in the numerological system that is here around us all the time. Coding and decoding, creating synchronicities we think are coincidences, but that really are the result of intricate and sacred vibrations set into movement and creation. What is even more fascinating is that we are part of setting it into movement. We are all creators, and all the time in every aspect, and this is a very important fact that should be taken seriously. So have you ever thought about why an illness can get a grip on you or repeat itself over and over, as in a so-called incurable disease? Now you may say that this is because of our immune system, or because things being programmed into the DNA, or you may have been exposed to infection, dangerous substances, etc. Yeah, but that's not the whole picture here. Think about someone saying, I get a flu every year. This means accepting as well as expecting it to happen. This means programming yourself into getting a flu. This could mean you could even get the flu symptoms from a regular cold because you have already decided you will be really ill. Another interesting example of programming yourself into pain is when you seemingly by coincidence hurt yourself, like for example your elbow, exactly on the same spot. You smash that elbow into something as a seat back every day without understanding that you make it repeat itself through saying and thinking, I always smashed that elbow on the same darn spot. You may also say, because of repeatedly hurting my elbow right here, it hurts all the time. Program and start it. And yes, it will keep on hurting until you forget about it and stop giving energy to keep the pain going, or until you decide to change your program. This is a lot about 4D and the fact that what you attracts manifest faster and faster. We have gone from 3D towards 4D for a while and been able to get used to cause and effect following each other in a more obvious way. Now 4D is really here, and we are moving through it towards a great shift. And this is even more speeding up consequences upon our actions and reactions, and we will have to move out from our comfort zones more than ever now. And at the same time, we have to keep our balance steady, starting with reprogramming ourselves. The coronavirus is probably something that is on most people's mind right now, and it's important to not fall into fear and just let the reaction take over the scene. Also, I would like you to try thinking outside the box when it comes to understanding what is really going on. And said again, don't let fear rule your choices. You shall of course do everything to keep healthy, take care of your body in all the ways you can. Do also look carefully at the different ways people react upon this virus, just like earlier viruses, as for example the swine flu. How people react is about inner programming, and if fear is the guiding star, fear will rule the reaction. Remember that you can choose your reaction as well as you can choose your action. You are a creator, and since being in the fourth dimension now, you are also a magician. Remember that. Don't ever feel like things are out of your power. Your reaction and action represents passive and active aspects of yourself. If you have a hard time finding a way to change your way to react and thereafter act in a scary situation, you can actually choose someone else to represent your passive and active aspects. This is like doing a dream or reality interpretation the other way around. It works as programming yourself into reacting and acting in a new way. And of course it is better to do things from the ground, from the inner depths of yourself and change your patterns. But if finding yourself in a more or less acute situation, the backwards programming is a great thing. So who would you choose as active and passive aspects then? They could be everything from superheroes to grandmothers. Just think about the best way to react and act and pick your choice. An example of a choice of an acute active aspect I made came from when I took one of my long walks, listening to something interesting in my headphones and suddenly finding myself in an area not particularly safe. So I felt overwhelmed and had no time to move inwards as I used to do. But then I came to think of a Swedish man that I follow on YouTube who has talked about how to give an impression of self-security. Walking with a straight back, not flacking the eyes. I actually felt like being him when walking through that area, tall and masculine, muscular, putting one foot before the other in a solid and confident way, keeping my gaze high and steady. So this was my acute active aspect, and it really worked. On regular basis though, and especially when it comes to scary things happening on a distance, like pandemics closing up, I always return to uniting with Mother Earth. I move inside my heart. This is my reaction pattern to which I return every time I can smell fear is in the air. I return to the knowings of that I am a soul who is here in a body that I love and take care of. I move into my heart and I feel Mother Earth's heartbeats. And from there I take decisions of how to act the best way in the actual situation. I actively choose to stay calm, knowing and accepting that things may be a bit scary. I breathe deeply, oxygenate myself, and at the same time I reduce stress by breathing. And I want to mention a very good way to learn how to breathe in a health promoting way, guided by another wise man on YouTube, and his name is Wim Hof. Many of you have heard of him, I guess. Wim Hof, spelled Wimhof. Do check him up because it's really worth it, and I do recommend that. Going back to the double meaning of words, it is worth mentioning that corona means radiance and crown, as in those beautiful shining and shimmering reds seen around heavenly bodies, but also aiming at the glory of God. This leads further to divine presence, as in a dwelling place for the divine, which is the translation of the word Shekinah, the feminine presence of God. The numerical value of Shekinah is 17, cooked down to 8, and 17 refers to the tarot card star, a shimmering and distant presence representing the new era coming soon, while 8 as a tarot card usually refers to strength, which we really need in this time of changes. In Crowley's tarot deck, 8 refers to balance though, which is quite a good thing too, since balance is the key to strength. Today, March 1, we have the numerical value of 8, 2020 plus 3 plus 1. And I would like to dedicate this specific day to strength, to life, and to the return of feminine in balance with the masculine, the new era to come. Focus upon choosing the positive option of the double meanings in life. Create in that way good synchronism in life, resulting in the best possible for you and everyone else. March 4, the retrograde Mercury enters Aquarius, the sign symbolized in the tarot card the star. Aquarius, the new era, stands just at the threshold, and it's orchestrated by the feminine water bearer, coming with cleaning and cleansing water for us in this energy being right now. This is sort of a catharsis before moving over the threshold. Can you see the double or deeper symbolism in this water here? It's like being refreshed by the energies or devastated. It's depending on what you choose. Change is here, and as said before about choosing how to react and act, also when it comes to the retrograde orbit, the most important thing here is to remember to keep track of your reactions and the energies you are broadcasting due to them. March 9, we will have a full moon in Virgo, meaning yet another aspect of the feminine is shining down on us. Virgo together with the full moon means grains, harvest and growth. The sign of Virgo is the home for the star with the Latin name Spica Virginis, which means Virgo's ear of grain. And remember the term house in the Sumerian language and think about it as a home or a dwelling place, a place for keeping something protected and preserved. And actually, there is one thing the oldest goddesses has in common. They are in old artifacts depicted carrying ears of grain, and the word spica means wheat, a well-known grain said to have been brought here on earth by the gods in the earliest days. Having ears of grain, Symbolica also says we should be alert and listening for a certain signal. The goddess is that signal, as well as she is waiting for it to come back from us. And we will hear it inside us, and we will signal back to the goddess who has been waiting for that to happen from the earliest beginning of this actual circle of life on earth. She has been dwelling in the depths for such a long time, and this full moon in Virgo really invites the lost, long gone to come back. The grain is ready to be harvested. March 16, after having returned to a direct orbit, the 9th, same day as the full moon in Virgo, Mercury enters Pisces. This will mean a period of being more sensitive and having a lower self-confidence when it comes to believing in your intellectual skills. You may easily feel overwhelmed as well as overpowered, and a good thing is to seek some peace and quiet and to be kind to yourself. Especially if you usually have a shy or withdrawn personality, you should use this Mercury Pisces energy for going deeper into yourself. And there you can find peace enough to confront things you need to face and work with in order to transform them. We all have those things inside us, in our shadow, and we have to start working with it in order to be able to change our reaction patterns. You don't want to come undone in these inner work matters, because in the end of the day, that is what really matters these times. March 19 brings Uranus sextile North Node, and you will suddenly feel more encouraged, be more daring, and really innovative. Use that progressive energy in your way of thinking. If your birth chart has a North Node sextile Uranus there for you, this will be really powerful. If you come from a background where conservatism was held high, as well as constricted rules was to stick to, you may fear changes, but now is the time, no matter what, to liberate yourself and start with coming out a little bit from the withdrawn state, but don't leave it fully yet, just enough to bring with you what you have so far come to terms with inside, and see for yourself that your work has strengthened you. March 20, Sun enters Aries, and now you have a lot of help from the Uranus sextile North Node energy, not to mention what comes from your inner work. Understanding the effect inner work has through using it in real life situations means getting proof of that strength comes from within, and this will, in the long run, give you superpowers. March 23, Jupiter quintiles Chiron, which means that your deepest wound is up for some open heart surgery and healing. And this will mean change on the deepest level of your being. So dive back in, now you know the way, and go with the flow. You will be able to go beyond that barrier which has to, up to now, stopped you from touching that very deepest wound. Uncovered, pain relieved, and transformed into full understanding. It will be your very best tool from now on. March 24, we will have a new moon in Aries, which is a really great start for your new strong self. Aries is full of strength and self-confidence, and with that superpower tool that you have earned through that hard inner work, you will have a lot of delight on your journey, no matter which challenges or changes comes your way. You will feel different and you will feel strengthened. Remember the house as a symbol, a dwelling and preserving place. Imagine you have an inner house, which is your own dwelling place, a place where you are safe. Remember also that a building represents a mental structure when it comes to dream interpretation. Build your house in the way you want it to be. Use that same method as when you choose your aspects as told above. What do you want to call your house? What does the symbol for your positive and constructive thinking look like? What I want to say is fill your way of thinking with what makes you happy and strong. Make that mental construction your house, your dwelling place, where you feel safe and where you create the very best for yourself, and thereby being able to radiate the energy needed in the world during this transition. Pay some extra attention to your dreams also, and write them down and work with them as the messages they are. They will tell you what you feel and think and what you need to work with. They will also tell you deeper things. Remember the layers of understanding that are there for you. Feel the excitement of the changes in a good way. Know that we are heading towards something good. Our souls have been waiting for this ancient signal to come and to reply to it. Bless you all, dear ones. To be able to take part of the monthly offer represented in the written newsletter, join Emiya Soleil's mailing list, www.emiyasoleil.com. And you are as always welcome to contact me by email, emiyasoleildreamwork@gmail.com. And my work with the upcoming online dream course is in active progress, as I said before. And this is the reason for the less numerous videos, so keep supporting my YouTube channel through hitting the like button and stay subscribed. And for you new watchers, I want to say there's more to come in a while, so subscribe and remember to push that bell symbol up in the corner to the right. So that will be all for today, and take care of yourself. I love you all, and bye bye for now.